Currently leading in the women's category 3, 4, 5 race with 34 Omnium points. Welcome, Heather O'Brien. Congratulations, Heather. In second place with 30 Omnium points is Pauline Enders. And currently in third place with 30 Omnium points, Melissa Haley. In the women 35 plus, our current leader with 34 Omnium points is Melissa Locker. In second place with 30 Omnium points, Christina Davis. And round out the top three with 28 Omnium points, Beth Navarra. Good luck to the women as you take on stage number 2 of the Tour of Murrieta. This is the Toledo Cleaning and Restoration Circuit Race. Get a countdown from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the ride. Go.
Welcome back to A Faster Me. We are here day 2, Tour de Murrieta, and this is the circuit race. It's about a 4.2 mile course maybe, and we are doing 7 laps. Yeah, so just trying to race smart, kind of stay protected. I have never finished with a group in this race. It's got the best of me every time, so just trying to kind of stay there, try to see if I could help Marlena. She was kind of the person that we're racing for. She was the only one who crashed the previous day and was racing today a little bit sore. So she was just kind of going to see how she felt.
Yeah, so Marlena entered the day, I think, in 4th place. So, unfortunately, she hurt her back and kind of chilled a little bit. Didn't know if she was going to make it the distance or not. So, yeah, they're just trying to protect her a little bit. And if she can get up front or have a, depending on how she was feeling, if she could get a good finish and just, finish as high in the Omnium that she could.
Yeah, this section is pretty beat up. The road has, some little potholes and some cracks, and, there's definitely a lot of jostling. Staying on the right side here was the place where I wanted to be. It was protected from the wind and close to that yellow line.
You mean staying on the left side?
Yes, that's what I meant. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the wind is coming off of the right side. So yeah, staying on the left, you'll be protected from the wind a little bit. It's kind of funny because, Ellen mentioning the wind, you can see a big difference between how the women rode the course and how, if you look at my race, how on that stretch, we were completely to the left side of the road because we did not want anyone getting protection from the wind. And I think the women just kind of still get the, like the driving laws in their head, and they just ride on the correct side of the road instead of taking advantage and using the entire road to, to their benefit.
I know. Here was actually maybe a rare time where we did swing left to make the turn, but we could have been on the left-hand side the entire way. And something new this year, this is full road versus center line. So I'm used to riding where this is center line from previous years. So it's kind of hard to think of staying on the left-hand side. But of course, trying to be protected, you're just trying to stay behind someone. And here I'm doing a pretty good effort, and I'm not quite on a wheel, but here I'm able to kind of get back up and come out to the left to make this right-hand turn.
Yeah, and so right here on this road, which is Guava, I believe it is, now it's center line rule, so now you have to stay to the right side.
And being on the right side here gives you a little bit more protection from the wind. So that was something I think I did pretty well this race, was using the wind to try to stay protected. Just because I typically have not rode as smart as I could, so I was trying to ride a little bit smarter and, be with the group for the duration of the race.
Yeah, and if you can see up front, you have like a couple, maybe the entire in-cycle Mommy's team. They're kind of setting pace up there. And yeah, I don't know if people really think of tactics as much, but I know Encycle does, or the Mommies, they do think of tactics and race as a team and, always have some strategy going. But I don't know if the field has the same tactical awareness because, yeah, they would definitely try to disrupt it a little bit or at least make sure, hey, we're going to hang there as long as you can. All of them are strong riders, so knowing a plan or trying to disrupt a plan doesn't mean that you have the ability to do something about it. But I think it just seems a little weird that everyone just lets them form and do their thing, and you gotta kind of be up there and ready for them to break away.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes easier said than done, but it definitely
For sure, easier said than done.
is important to, I think, at least try to do some things, even if you're not successful. It, got to be out there competing. I was wondering kind of here. I wasn't sure where Marlena was at this time. I'm kind of here mid-pack, and I'm not really sure where everyone is at this moment. We have, again, 4 of us out here racing, Billy and Ashley. So, yeah, just kind of nice to have some teammates out here, but I wasn't really sure where everyone else was at this moment.
Yeah, and I'm, I don't know, I was hoping, Ashley's a really good climber. I was thinking she'd, be really strong on this day, but it was also really windy. And even though there's some climbs here and there, for the most part, it's a super fast circuit. I think in my race, I think we averaged over 24 miles per hour, which was about close, it was getting close to the same as the crit. So yeah, even though it has a lot more climbing, it's still a super fast circuit.
And that little hill is maybe the steepest, but it's pretty short, or there might be one more steep. But I was surprised at how I felt on that hill. Usually it's death and I'm dying, but I felt okay, doing it, even though I had a little gap opened up. So then it's a pretty good downhill, so I was able to kind of make up the ground here.
Yeah, it's also a good place to attack because, everyone has to slow down for the turn. It's a short sprint up, and then it's a really fast downhill. So anytime the race goes from slow to fast, it's kind of a good time to get a little separation and attack, which it looks like the Mommies took advantage of that right there as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is where the breakaway happens. It's real stretched out and hard to see fully up the road, so I'm trying to get a little bit better vantage point. I think that's Kim there. I let her know I was on her right because I think this is protected by the wind a little bit.
Yeah, you should be on the right side here, and the wind is pushing from the left on this section. So it actually pushes you to the left a little bit. But as you can see, once you get on the right side of people, you kind of pass kind of easily.
Mm-hmm. I'm putting in a decent effort here downhill, but it is just stretched out and going pretty fast.
Yeah, this is definitely where the Mommies got a decent amount of separation here. And for the most part, they're gone now, I think.
And I couldn't tell, was that Marlena who came by me? Yeah, so Marlena came by. It's hard to see when we're watching it. It's a little bit of a small screen, so sometimes it's hard to tell. But yeah, so Marlena did an effort and came by a little faster than I could grab her wheel.
Yeah, I think that, it's unfortunate, crashes happen. It's just part of the sport. There's no, anyone to blame or anything like that. But, it's just unfortunate that, Marlena was sore from the day before when had a little hurt back. Because, I think she may have done pretty well on this road race as well. As you can see, she powered up the hill there. But, just really didn't have it on this day.
And there's Jules from Major Motion putting in a good effort. Her and I spent quite a bit of time together in the group today.
Yeah, so coming up, when they make the right-hand turn here, this is B Street, and then it goes back to, you can use the entire road again. So you got Catalina right there in front of you, and I think that was that Jules you said?
Yeah.
Jules, Catalina, and I can't tell who's above that, but you guys are putting in a pretty good pace here, trying to catch up to the mommies up front who are in a breakaway. If you can see, they're just making the right-hand turn now up the road. And for the most part, they pretty much do a team time trial after that and just establish the break and keep working.
Yeah, I love this little, I'm not sure if it's really the infield, but I kind of think of it as like the infield section, and I loved the
tight turn here.
Yes. So I'm able to, take the corners through here at a decent speed, so I enjoyed making up time throughout the race in this section.
This is into a stiff headwind, so you're doing pretty good here. You're on the wrong side. You should be on the left, but still, this is a pretty stiff headwind here, so it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, so just kind of trying to settle in and be protected a little bit from the wind, because you can tell the difference when you're out in the wind.
Yeah, I think that's Sam in front of you there.
Yeah, it was nice to see her out. I think this is her first race in a while.
Yeah, so one more turn to go, coming back to the front straight here. You got one more right-hand turn, and then that's a full lap of the course.
And that's the rider from Cal Poly. I think we mentioned talking to her dad. So, yeah.
We didn't mention on this video talking to her dad.
Well, the last video, yes. So.
Yeah, her dad, Todd, reached out to us and sent us some pictures after Ontario. She was on the film, on Ellen's film a lot on the Ontario Majestic Crit. So, yeah, we kind of linked up on via email and some messaging, and got some nice pictures. And it's always good to see her come down from up north, or I guess Central California is not really north. But yeah, she's definitely a really strong rider. Always puts in a great effort.
And there is, I think, Ashley coming by.
Well, I don't know. I see Billy right there in front of Jules.
And Billy.
So yeah, you guys are pretty much all together again for the most part.
Yeah, so I think that this the main kind of chase group was about maybe 8 of us, and we end up doing quite a bit of work together.
Yeah, it was a pretty small field on day 2. Obviously there's people missing from the crash, and being that they made it an Omnium, like, it's not mandatory that you have to do both days, so people can sign up for 2 days. They can sign up for the crit only, and they can sign up for the circuit race only.
And you could see there, with very little effort, just a second ago, I was able to move up on the left side just from having the protection over here.
Yeah, and so just a little bit of strategy. If the girls up front move over to the left side of the road, then anyone that passes them has to put in a little more effort because they're exposed to the wind. But since they leave the left side of the road open, everyone on the left can pass actually easier using less watts because they're shielded from the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's both Ashley and Billy right there in front of you.
This is a pretty technical corner coming up. It's pretty dirty on the inside. Everyone slows down pretty significantly. We all took the corner a little too tight there.
And way slower than you should be. Because you took it tight and everyone turned in a little bit early, it's kind of off camber, decreasing radius turn. So you really want to take it from the right side of the road, and you want to have a very late apex. Hopefully I'll do a video when I get some time on cornering and what an apex is and all that kind of stuff, just because I know a lot of people don't kind of understand They don't understand proper cornering and what an apex is, and that there's multiple apexes. It's not the middle of the corner like people think it is. So yeah, one day hopefully I'll have some time to do that.
There was a few masters riders in our group. That was, I think, her name is Chris. She's, I think, in second place for the day. She has a nice little breakaway later in the race that ends up sticking.
Yeah, it looks like she not dropped a chain, but missed a gear right there coming out of that corner.
Mm-hmm. There was a couple little holes here that, it seemed like people struggled sometimes possibly with gearing. I heard it in a few different people's bikes.
Whoa, almost a near collision there. Yeah, once again, too, this is directly into the headwind here. So in this section, you want to be slightly over to the right.
Mm-hmm. I think that is one of the Masters riders also.
Who's that?
Right in front of me in my view.
Okay, all right.
But I think she may have had a different kit on yesterday in stage 1, but I'm sorry, I don't remember her name.
Yeah, so we got Marlena, I think, up front, putting in a little effort, just trying to keep in touch with the breakaway. So we got Marlena and Ashley, I think, up front, trying to just pull it back a little bit, put in a little bit of effort there. So here you see the young lady goes by, but she actually goes by too hard. So it's just something to note. If you want to work with someone, you got to go by them a little bit slower, and then gradually increase your speed. Anytime you go by hard like this, it forces people to surge, and you end up cracking the people behind you, and then they're not able to work as much. So even though you're not on the same team, anytime you want to work with someone, you got to go by slower. And then increase your speed slowly. This is one of the big mistakes that people make when they're trying to pace line in races with people that aren't their teammate. They surge off the front, and it really just cracks everyone, and in the long run, it slows everyone down.
Yeah, and you see with the win, she's already kind of that hard effort was maybe wasted a little bit, or maybe it was designed to just kind of put a little hurt. I'm not sure.
No, she tapped her butt or her hip, so she was saying jump on my wheel. But yeah, just because she went by so fast, no one was in her draft. So then the girls behind have to put in an equal effort, and then when it's time for you to flick an elbow, no one's really able to come through because you both just did a similar effort. So no one really got a chance to rest there. That's why you always go by a little smoother, slower, wait till the person is on your wheel, and then you pick up the pace.
Yeah.
So yeah, this little kicker here can really take a lot out of your legs after you do it so many times. And Ellen said you guys are doing 7 laps, and 7 laps is roughly 25 miles on this course.
And I think I can't remember if previous years we've done more, or if we've always done this. I can't remember.
Actually, you guys are doing 6 laps this year.
6 laps.
Yes, you're right. It used to be 7 for the women, and it was 9 for the men, or for the open category. And this year they lowered both of them. They took the women to 6 laps, and the open class went to 7 laps. So we used to do 39, almost 40 miles, and this year we did 29 when you take the 2 laps off. And the women did 1 lap less than they did in previous years with 6 laps this year, and they used to do 29 miles in the previous years. This here is actually the fastest part of the course.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see being protected by the wind, using under 200 watts, you just slingshot right by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're up to 34 miles per hour at one point.
Yeah, it's funny. I have no recollection of coming to the front and doing this effort here with Marlena being on the front. I kind of in my memory, I didn't really see her that much. And, you know, I don't know if you saw Sarah from In Cycle kind of stuck on her wheel. That was her assignment for the day, and she did a great job just kind of being like glue on Marlena's wheel.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good strategy because you had 3 In-Cycle mommies in the top 3. Marlena was 4th, so she was really the only like legitimate threat left in the race to them. So yeah, it's smart to assign someone to mark her and just kind of disrupt the race a little bit. And you know, I'm not sure who won out of the In-Cycle mommies, but they're all strong either way it goes. So even if Marlena was healthy for this race, you know, there's still no guarantees that she would have finished any better than 4th place in the Omnium. It was just a good strategy, and that's just it's good to see when people race with tactics. It would just be better if some of the other teams would kind of learn some tactics and be willing to race as a team and not just everyone out for themselves.
And that rider pulling out front is one of the Masters riders, and she was a real workhorse doing a lot of work on the front. And you can see the rider on her wheel is Chris, and kind of knowing who your competition is within the race is important. So, you know, multiple different battles going on within a race, even though we're racing together.
Yeah, there's definitely multiple battles in any type of stage racing or Omnium. You have the actual race on the day, which sometimes, you know, has a effect on the overall points, and then sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on who, you know, who's running up front. You know, and sometimes all you have to do is beat a certain person and you can't lose the championship. So, you know, it's not as important to have a high finish on that day. It's more important to finish in front of your rival and, you know, come home with the championship.
And what's interesting is Melissa Locker did really well day 1 in the crit and got kind of some of the points, and she wasn't feeling so well on day 2, but the points were divided between the competition, so she ended up winning the overall Omnium, even though she came in, I think, in last place on the circuit race, but she had done enough and got enough points day 1 to come in first overall. So, you know, it's just interesting how sometimes things play out.
Well, actually, there's Omnium points also on day 2. So I forgot what number laps they said. I think it was lap 3 and something else that they had Omnium points. So if Melissa picked up a couple points there too, it kind of doesn't matter what place she comes in.
Yeah, she didn't on day 2, but it was divided between different women. So here I was just kind of doing some work, picking up the pace a little bit here, and just took a couple corners first. And I'm not sure if this lap I looked back and had a gap or if I do it again in a different lap, but I was just kind of seeing where maybe you have an advantage over the field, and, you know, there's always different areas where different people are stronger. So it seemed like I was a little bit stronger in the infield and, you know, was coming through this section first a few times. And then I, you know, maybe struggled a little bit more up the hill on the other side.
Yeah, that hill, like I said, it's not even that steep, and it's not, you know, it's exactly what you say it is. It's just a little gradual hill, but, you know, honestly, everything at race pace is pretty hard. You know, other than being in like a completely smooth draft, everything at race pace is pretty hard. So anytime you look at a circuit, it's not really about how steep the climb is or anything else. It's really, can you keep the pace of the rest of the field? And that's really all racing is matching other people's speed and energy. Not really if it's not doesn't matter so much if it's a difficult course or not, because it's really difficult for everyone.
Yeah, and there you could see that everybody came flying by me on my left, and there again the wind protection is a little bit better on that side. So
And shout out to Billy right in front of us right here. This is only Billy's second race, so she did a great job. The crit the day before was her very first race. Crit riding is not her thing, being that she comes from more of a triathlon background or triathlete background. But she did very well in this circuit race, and I'm just happy to see her that she came out, and she's been on the team this year. This is her first year on the team, and glad to see that she's out there competing in races.
100%.
So again, here they're coming into the decreasing radius turn. Let's see if they take it a little better now that it's going a little faster and stretched out. Ellen's turning in way too early for this type of turn, so you got to scrub way too much speed here. So yeah, definitely want to take that angle, that apex a little late, and be pointing up the road when you come out of your turn, not across the road. I always forget people's names.
Audrey is the Cal Poly rider.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It just, on the results, it doesn't have her team listed. But Audrey's really strong. Hopefully she gets to continue doing races down here for the rest of the year. I know it's a commitment to be going back and forth, to Central California and back down here. But yeah, she's really strong, and I can only see her results getting better. But she really has a lot of steady power.
You can see the stage 2 rider just up in front of her. Her bike was making a sound kind of through here. I wasn't sure if it was the gearing or what, but I was worried some of the sounds it was making. But she was doing a lot of work also.
Yeah, you can see how the speed is reduced so much. That headwind is just, it was brutal. I mean, honestly, usually we race earlier in the day, and for whatever reason this year they switched and had these categories racing at noon. So normally we would have raced at 8 a.m. and there's typically no wind that early in the morning. So it's a little different. It's good that it's a little warmer, because our crit the day before the crit, it was 40 degrees when we started, actually 30s when we were warming up. That was very difficult to stay warm and to get warm. But I don't know. I don't know if I'd rather have the cold over the wind.
I guess it depends for me on if you're by yourself or not. By yourself is really brutal in the wind, but being cold is not fun in the morning either.
Yeah, you guys still have it stretched out. I think you probably, I think just a little communication from the group. You guys probably could have done a little better organizing the chase and just organizing some better pace lines. Because it's kind of random right now, and unfortunately, when you do these type of efforts, it usually happens that one person goes to the front, pulls until they basically blow up, and then kind of fall off. And as you can see there, Jules goes to the front and puts in a little bit of effort. But like I said, the girl that just pulled, that's in front of you now, she had just did an effort, so it's hard for her to grab on. Catalina was just up there. Second reel is kind of hard for her to grab on, and then it just kind of blows up the group. So yeah, don't be afraid to communicate when a team is off the front, especially since the Encyclo Mommies are all on the same team. So if they're all in a breakaway off the front together, there's an incentive for all of you guys to get together and chase.
Yeah, definitely, some strategy to all work together. I think, some people have the mindset of maybe I can bridge or break away. Or maybe get a little group to break away to have less competition, so it's hard to know. So, we definitely didn't have a ton of organization. There was, some communication through the group of, kind of working together, getting on a wheel.
Yeah, it's just it's not very organized. That's all. A little better organization, a little better commitment to each other, just to bring it back is, it would have been nice to see. It'd been nice to work and see how these, 8, 9, 10 women could have worked together, all of them being basically on different teams. I think originally too, we probably should have done a little bit better job of forming a chase group. I'm saying we as in PAA, because there's 3 of you guys in the race. I'm sorry, 4 or 3?
4 of us in the race.
Yeah. So there's 4 of you guys in the race. That's the next largest team. So I think you guys should have organized a little bit better to try to form a chase group and run it down. Either way it goes, I mean, it might be an impossible task, being how strong those girls are up front. But I think, like I said in the crit race, the team that has the most members kind of have to take on the responsibility of doing the most work. You can't really expect other people that are not on a team and don't ride together that often to be on the same page. So the team with the numbers, basically, and you don't have someone in the break, you're kind of expected to do a bulk of the work.
Yeah, it was hard to, even focus too much on some strategy of just when you're trying to hold on. So, sometimes trying to just kind of race and, hold the wheel and survive up the hill. It's easy to lose sight of maybe like who's all around you. And then, when it settles in, then you can start thinking about some of that strategy. So I was thinking, here of, okay, so the breakaway's gone, so hopefully Marlena's in this group, and hopefully put her in a position to place at least as high as possible. And then sometimes I think Chris did a few times, kind of tried to break, and then my thought was let the other people in her category, the masters, chase her down, and we can jump on her wheel. On their wheel to chase her, because that's their competition.
Yeah, but it's actually not, because your competition is up the road.
Yes.
So all incentive to chase is for everyone that's in the open class, because the open class is what's up the road. The masters are all here racing with each other. So I understand what you mean, that another master could get on her wheel, but if your objective is to win this group, then that's one strategy. But if you want to bring back the break at all, which I know it's gone now, the break's well gone, but if you wanted to bring back the break at all, I think we missed that opportunity, because I think I think our PAA women should have kind of organized it from the beginning. And then the problem is, when you said you're hanging on the whole time, well, hanging on is because of what's going on now with these surges, unorganized surging, which that's just a quick spurt, and then the group slows down, then there's a spurt, then the group slows down. When you're trying to organize and bring back a chase, you want to, have a little communication with each other, which you guys could have started it, being that we have 4 members, and you just rotate. You keep it smooth, you keep it steady, you keep it at a fairly high pace, you rotate, and you eliminate all that surging, which taxes everyone's legs.
And so here I just decided to kind of do a hard effort through the infield and, take the corners a little bit faster, and, hope that then we could continue some of those lines. And I think I look back at a point and I have a pretty significant gap. And part of my mindset was I almost forgot about kind of being a team, and I almost just was thinking of kind of racing like by myself, because you're out there. And then I was like, that makes no sense. I'm working for a teammate. So, and I wasn't even sure at this moment. I thought she would be in this group, but just not knowing exactly how she was feeling from the crash, I kind of fall back here and try to, I may have asked Jules here if Marlena was in this group, because I wanted to make sure that she was here in this group. And I think I fall back and talk to her, and I was thinking of just kind of winning this group and not thinking of chasing the breakaway, just because I know Marlena had crashed and wasn't really feeling the greatest. So I think that's kind of where she was at. So, maybe that's a little bit of a defeatist attitude, because if you're out here competing, it maybe should be with everything, but sometimes, you just kind of take it where it's at.
Yeah, and every race is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity for success. It's also an opportunity for failure, and there's nothing wrong with any of those three options. I think sometimes we look at failure in a negative way, but it's really not. Anybody that puts themselves out there, to be harmed, to be judged, any of those kind of things, you're already winning. And that's may sound a little cheesy, may sound a little cliche-ish, but yeah, it takes a lot to just get on your bike and come out here and compete.
For sure. And this is where I kind of fall back and talk to Marlena, and we're kind of trying to have a little strategy. Sarah's on her wheel, so I was kind of thinking, the pace is pretty comfortable. It wasn't, miserable at this point. So kind of being able to sit in, I was able to do that hard work on the front for the infield, and then fully, recover. And here is the men's category coming by, and we should be kind of moving to the right. The motorcycle's coming over, and so we had kind of a strategy, hopefully for the last lap.
Yeah, that was the
breakaway?
The open 4-5 breakaway that was there. And yeah, so I'm going to come by to give you a little words of encouragement in a second here. But yeah, we were kind of in the same situation. Like you saw, those 4 guys went by. The only difference is they're not on the same team, so they're probably not working as well as the mommies were working. But same thing, we had 4 or 5 guys off the front, and we ended up racing them down. Running them down, by the end of the race. So there I go right there yelling to Ellen.
Yeah, the officials said that they'd try not to kind of neutralize us, but just have us kind of scoot to the right, which to me is kind of, if someone else is passing, you should kind of.
Well, I think it was fine just moving over to the right. I think it just took a minute for people to realize what he was saying. That you have to. They probably thought he was just saying centerline rule, but yeah, he was just saying move all the way over, because we had actually the biggest group, at least from what they said. We had almost 80 riders, and you can see that was a pretty large group. I think with the small breakaway we had, and then we had a huge peloton, and then there was maybe another 20 riders off the back that weren't shown right there.
And so here, Billy's going inside. I think I tell her, hey, stay a little wider. But you see a lot of the riders were staying wide. We're taking the line from the left side, but staying wide and not really hitting the apex. So I know Billy's mindset was like, hey, I have plenty of room and I can stay inside, because they're not taking the inside line. But there's a lot of power then coming out. You're having to use, a pretty good amount of energy just going a little bit slower.
Yeah, it drives me crazy looking at the lines. And it only drives me crazy because you guys are really strong. I mean, there's a lot of really strong women in you guys' races. You know, stronger than a lot of us men, myself included. If we were out doing group rides or whatever, a lot of you guys would be smoking us. But in racing, for whatever reason, the cornering is it's kind of bad, honestly. And yeah, if you guys corner better, I'm pretty sure your speeds would be, you know, really similar to the open class speeds as well. And like I said, a lot of the ladies are actually stronger than a lot of the men, but for whatever reason, I think the men race a little bit more efficient.
I would have to agree with you.
It's kind of cool, that little ranch to the right there. Sometimes they have some camels there, peacocks, emus, all kinds of animals. But yeah, I saw the camels. That's the only time I've seen camels. Like, I don't know, probably maybe in California or in America. I don't even know if I've ever seen a camel in a zoo. But yeah, they've had camels there a couple years ago.
Yeah, one year there, I can't remember what year, but there were some peacocks across the road, and some ladies took the moment of the whole group waiting for peacocks to attack. So I feel like that should be illegal. No. But, you know, people race and find opportunities to, you know, advance their position. And there's nothing in the rules about waiting for animals. You know, there's rules for cars and things like that, but animals are not on the rule sheet.
Yeah, I think, I mean, cycling at some levels have, like, you know, some unwritten or unspoken etiquette. At the lower levels, yeah, that etiquette is not always the same. Same with crashing. You know, in a crit, we deal with crashing and you just keep riding because people get free laps. But at higher levels, yeah, like, people don't attack in certain situations. But, you know, it is what it is. It's half the rules don't get enforced anyway, so that's a little frustrating. But yeah, it's just a kind of unspoken thing. So I would never use it to my advantage if a dog runs across the road or something. But, you know, it is what it is.
So all that I was kind of thinking about and strategizing was for the last lap at this point. So I think here Marlene and I are talking again, and you know, it was hard to talk, you know, privately with the wind and, you know, Sarah on her wheel, but we were just kind of trying to figure a few things out.
Well, you guys are down to 9 miles per hour taking that corner. You're definitely feeling it now and feeling that wind. You know, we got only so many laps to go, so you can tell it's taking a lot out of the group.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Maybe that's why I didn't think the hill was so bad if we're going so slow.
Yeah. I mean, your heart rate's fairly low too, so you guys are pretty comfortable right now.
Yeah, it did feel pretty nice and able to kind of move up, and if I wanted to or sit back. I have definitely not had that experience too often in this race. I'm usually dropped at some point and circulating all by myself, so it was nice to be able to take, you know, the majority of the race with the group.
I think it's a good job here of you sitting off to the right side, a little echelon. You can see the speed is high. You guys are making up a little bit of ground on the front group here, just being on the right side. Which again, really the entire group should be on the right side.
To me, the most challenging part of this course is this second hill, like the...
Yeah, and you're talking about this little kicker that comes up. But that little kicker, I don't know, you hit it with so much speed, it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. But I must admit, on the last lap, it got me as well. It didn't really get me like anything significant, but I definitely wasn't able to keep the pace going up this little kicker on the last lap.
I hate to admit that I think once or twice I even dropped to small gear to be able to keep my cadence high because we had slowed down a little more significantly.
Yeah, it's just a little sprint basically, but yeah, I definitely would not be in small gear on this course at all. This is for sure a big ring circuit.
Well,
I mean, it is almost 8%, but it's really just like, I don't even know if it's a 10-second climb. It's like a 5-second climb.
yeah, 5 seconds for who? Not me. But yeah, that to me is the worst part.
Yeah, I must admit though, for you guys being like a smaller group on this type of circuit, you guys actually did a really good job of staying together because there's not as big of a draft effect. You're not getting protected from the wind as much. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's it's pretty difficult, like you said, sometimes just hanging on. I think for my race, I only averaged like 230 watts for that hour and hour and 10 minutes or something like that. So yeah, I can imagine if there was less people in my race, I would have averaged a lot more power.
Here comes my favorite section, but the corner coming up, that's a pretty sharp right-hand turn. Yeah, it was difficult. I ended up running wide one of the corners. I'm not sure if we may have missed it.
No.
But no. Okay, it hasn't come up yet. Okay.
Yeah, but you guys should be further to your left right now. And you should turn as late as possible. Once again, to have a late apex and be pointed up the road and not across it. As you guys are turning in early, you see that stage 2 rider already adjusted her turn by almost turning in too early. So that's the thing. You either have to scrub a lot of speed or you run the chance of running wide.
Yeah, that's why I love when I could take the corners first and just kind of set a good line. It's comfortable to kind of come in, but then you're doing work, and this section here is really windy. Jules there in front of me, she raced, I think, really smart these 2 days. She did a lot of communication with the group, kind of thinking of strategy and trying to save energy.
That was a good job too of her jumping from one wheel to the other. When Sam went by, she jumped on Sam's wheel.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see some of the kind of high little spikes because it felt more comfortable, but all those little spikes of high power numbers add up and take a toll later on.
Yeah, for sure. It's a long race and it's a tough race. So yeah, every bit of energy that you spend, comes at a price. So yeah, I think you guys are doing a pretty good job though. Like I said, other than the mommies getting away early, which most likely there was nothing that can be done about it anyway. They have the strongest riders. So yeah, if you get 4 strong people on the same team or 5, whatever, yeah, it's hard to stop. So they took advantage of it, got away, and like you said, now you guys are racing for this group.
That was a pretty good effort that Sam put in there. And there's the Masters rider going to do some work.
Yeah, I think that's number 396.
So Moreno Lourdes
Yeah, she's been riding strong the whole race, putting in a lot of good efforts, a lot of good speed and watts. But yeah, like I said, I think you guys have a pretty strong group here also. So it would have been nice to just see that pace line for a few laps and just see what the possibilities would have been.
Yeah, and her hard work, she has a little bit of wiggle in her bike, just when she's putting the work in.
Yeah, so you guys got 3 people up here towards the front again. Yeah, I think that's just a future thing of just maybe try to organize a little bit better and work off the front a little bit.
Agreed. I think it would have been nice to be able to put some, a little bit of more organization together.
Gotta take it wide here. See if anybody's learned. Kind of taking it early again and slowing down so much. It was a little bit better by you, but I can see up front people turned in way early again. But at least none of you guys ran off. In our race, people ran off almost at all the trouble spots. Somebody ran off.
Yeah, and that was some of my, I think, cutting in too early, knowing how people run wide and get pushed out. But it's, yeah, just not good practice.
Well, it doesn't save you either by running in too early. It actually increases your chance of making a mistake and being that person that gets pushed out. The earlier you turn, the more likelihood you have of running wide.
And the more likelihood of doing a lot of power out of the corner.
Correct. If you well, that's the give and take. You either have a chance of running wide, or you have to slow down so much that you have to use high power to accelerate again.
Looks like we have maybe 1 or 2 laps left.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, I don't know how many minutes you guys are doing a lap. Probably a little over 10 minutes. I think you said 11 minutes was your fastest.
Yeah, something 11 something.
So yeah, you guys probably have about 2 laps left.
Yeah, so I'm thinking we may have missed where I ran wide in the corner. In the infield, I was telling people, just turn, we have plenty of room, and I chose to go in the dirt because I knew, standing up my bike a little bit, I have a greater likelihood of being okay instead of risking being leaned over and hitting that dirt. But I was yelling to the rider next to me, just turn.
It was a big effort by you here.
And there, I think we had slowed down pretty significantly. A few people were maybe getting some energy, nutrition, and I thought I'd rather just keep the pace a little bit higher.
Yeah, it's also into the big headwind, so I think you guys have been going about 15 miles per hour on the previous laps as well.
So maybe a little bit of unnecessary work, but let's try to keep the pace up, but I'm dying here into the wind. And she's doing a pretty good effort because I'm doing a good effort holding her wheel.
Yeah, she did a much better job this time too. You remember earlier in the race she came by too fast. This time she came by a little bit slower, tapped her hip, told you to jump on, and it was a lot better. As you can see, you're on the wheel. If you remember before, she had a big gap, and then no one was able to kind of jump on the wheel. So great job by her this time and a great effort. A little bit of a slow cadence, but that's probably her style. But yeah, just a great job of putting in work and just working hard the whole race.
And I think we may have missed the other Masters rider breaking away. Because she definitely did it with maybe 2 to go, and I think we're kind of running out of time for the race. But she did a nice attack at the top of the hill to the downhill, and she'd done kind of a test run or two, you know, previously in the race, and she was able to get away and stay away.
Yeah, I think there's a little difference here. What I was saying, like in our race, we kind of sprint up this hill every time. Everyone's out of the saddle and going hard up this hill, getting some good speed to go for the downhill. And I think I've seen you guys seated the entire time doing that.
Yeah, it was definitely slower than I remember from previous years. It seemed like there I was just toasted, and I was able to kind of stay most of the race. I'm not sure why I'm doing such a hard effort off the front right now.
I don't think it's such a hard effort. No, honestly, that was just the power you needed to make it up the hill with momentum.
Yeah, I think we were already coming downhill, and I was doing like 240. And again, I do not remember doing this much time off the front here. It's funny how your memory can betray you.
Motorcycle went by kind of fast, so I don't know if that's from a different group or who that motorcycle would have belonged to. So I forgot her name right here. Is it Murrieta?
I believe so.
Yeah, she's definitely doing probably the most work in this group throughout this race. She's been on the front. So yeah, kudos to her. I don't know what place she came in, but yeah, she's doing a lot of work, and obviously she's strong. So yeah, you know, I keep saying it, but I think just a little better communication from everyone. You guys could have had a pretty good, fun race of just working hard as a group. Especially now, if you're saying there's a Masters person off the front also, and you have another person to chase, it'd be great just to see that effort. You guys just got to remember, you know, there's times that it benefits you to cooperate with others, and there's some times that it doesn't, and you just got to be more aware of like some of those situations. If it's a time for you to protect yourself only, or a teammate and not work, or if it's a time that benefits you and your team to work with other people and just kind of, you know, the word is frenemies, but become frenemies for the race. And you know, later in the race, obviously you're going to have to try to beat that person, but early on or to serve a purpose, there's nothing wrong with forming a little alliance temporarily. This is a good job of you guys moving to the left side finally, with 2 laps to go to get a better angle for the turn. You guys probably turned too sharp though. You should have ran it all the way to the left side of the road. That would allow you to keep a little bit better momentum, probably at least another mile per hour or so.
And then staying on the left side of the road for the next corner.
That's correct. Yeah, so I think this might be the time that you run wide right here, if I'm not mistaken. So up front, you can see they moved to the left early, which is great. Again, it took only 5 laps to do that. But yes, this is where you should have been starting all race from the left side here. But you guys are turning in early still. Should have just turned in a little bit later.
Yeah, no, the rider's gone who I was yelling at to turn.
Yeah, must have been earlier.
Yeah, I don't know how we missed it. I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit, but oh well. And I think we're coming up. I think there's going to be one more lap when we cross the start-finish line. And unfortunately, I was caught sleeping a little bit.
I think here is a good job of echeloning a little bit of riding off to the left, protecting yourself from the wind that's coming from the right.
Yeah, I was taking the race for granted a little bit, already kind of planning the last lap, because it felt decently comfortable compared to previous times. So, it's just a good lesson to not take things for granted and, stay focused for the duration of the race.
You guys are definitely putting in a hard effort there. You were. Now the turn must be coming up, so everybody kind of lightened up on the pedals. Don't know what you're doing way on this side, but
The motorcycle was talking to, I don't know if he's talking to me or our whole group, but I think he's saying that the men are going to be coming up. So he was saying kind of after the corner to move over. So Marlene and I had a little bit of a miscommunication of what exactly our strategy was on the last lap. So, she's going up and here I was trying to tell everyone to move right because the motorcycle had just said that like the men are coming by and, the group of women, I don't know if they didn't hear him, but so there they were that they came by, and I think I let that distract me a little bit because here I let just a little bit of a gap open up, and Marlena's gonna do a pretty hard effort, and she ends up kind of breaking away on this lap, and I end up falling asleep and getting dropped, and then the camera cuts off. I'm able to do pretty hard effort to make some ground up, but just ran out of time. So, here was still in pretty good position. So I wasn't asleep quite yet. And here just kind of, maybe figuring out, what to do. So
it's a good job by Billy here going to the front and putting in an effort. Billy's new, so she's pointing out a pothole. A sewer main. But yeah, definitely in races, you guys have done this like 5 laps already. There's no need to point out anything to anyone anymore at this point. Everyone should be aware of like the hazards of the road. I know somebody's gonna say it's still good to point it out, but really, I don't think so. If it's a true hazard, you point it out, but by now everyone should know that this road is beat up and keep their hands on the bars. See this turn? Oh, Moreno comes in way tight. You guys have to scrub so much speed.
And that rider came real tight inside. And then I scooted back a little bit. So there I definitely did not do a good job of kind of holding my ground, and, I think I should have been fighting for Marlena's wheel there, and I just get kind of shuffled back. So yeah, definitely lost a little bit of focus. And there I'm doing a 500 plus watt effort. So Marlena's really putting in a hard dig right here and kind of breaking the field up. and I wasn't ready.
Well, I think you're still taking it for granted right now because you're still not putting in like. There's no urgency right here. There's just like, you're still in just ride mode, and it's the last lap, so people are accelerating and getting a little more desperate. Looks like the young lady in front of us missed a gear or something, or had a bad shift for a second. Yeah, they're putting in a hard effort, and I mean, you're putting in a good effort too, but it just doesn't seem urgent because you're not really accelerating, and your heart rate's not that high. So unless you bonked or something with energy, yeah, you definitely can put in a harder effort here.
Yeah, I think I just lost a little focus, fell asleep, like you said, took it for granted, and that's all she wrote. So I mean, I end up, like I said, I end up kind of falling back here. I was making up some ground, a little kind of like chase car. I'm not sure if it was someone with bikes, but they kind of come by. I end up catching them again, and I'm making up ground on a few of the girls, but just ran out of time. So yeah, definitely wasn't the way I wanted to finish, but I think it was a great 2 days of racing, and yeah, thanks for sticking with us. And Marlena was able to hang on for a fourth in the Omnium, and all of our teammates were able to be top 10 for the overall Omnium. The in-cycle mommies definitely had a great showing this weekend, and I think they had maybe 4 or 5 of the top 6 spots. So great job to them. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we won't bore you with the rest of me riding solo.
Looks like you're making up a little bit of ground here, but yeah, just a little too late, and I still don't see like the urgency, because I know you can do more than 200 watts. So yeah, I just don't see any urgency here. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you bonked from like lack of nutrition, and your heart rate's just not rising the way it would normally, or if you're just not giving effort now. Yeah, it looks like you kind of cashed it in and just like you're just kind of riding it in and not actually trying to get back on. Because yeah, the effort's not a bad effort, but obviously we all have seen you do way more than 200 watts when you're trying to catch back up.
Yeah, I think I may have taken some nutrition. I don't know how long ago, or if that played a factor, but I'm definitely able to put in a little bit of a harder effort. But again, it was too little, too late.
Yep. So see you next time.